I have chosen to look at the island of Guam for the first capstone. Guam is a territory of the United States located in the western Pacific Ocean. Guam faces a number of threats related to climate change, such as rising sea levels, droughts, more intense tropical storms, and both increased air and sea temperatures. I will focus on drought and the effects it's currently having on the island, as well as projected threats. Guam is located in the tropics and as such has two seasons, the rainy season and the dry season. The rainy season lasts from July to November. And Guam has freshwater pockets throughout the island, but mainly in the northern part. This fresh water is held in these pockets from the rainy season and formed what has been called a lens on top of the inlets. There are both salt water and fresh water stored here, but because salt water is heavier, it sinks to the bottom while the fresh water remains on top. During the dry season, the freshwater pockets become depleted from use and evaporation and have led to droughts on the island, particularly during El Niño cycles. These cycles not only deplete fresh water, but lower the sea levels from less rainfall during the rainy season. This places Guam at risk from not only lack of fresh water, but this island relies heavily on their fishing industry. Warmer waters, bleached corals, and lower sea levels impede the ability for fishermen to make a living and provide food for the residents. I was unable to find information forecast in terms of climate change for Guam, but located information on the Pacific Islands as a whole. Even so, the information is limited. The temperature for the Pacific Islands has increased up to 0.76% for Hawaii specifically over the past 100 years, which is where most of the information on the Pacific Islands is collected. I did read that research is continuing on the topic due to military bases located in Guam. So far, the models that exist don't show an increase of storms or intensity of storms that hit Guam, but there has been noted temperature increase in the area and concerns over the fate of the island if that upward trend continues. Drought affects everything in Guam. It limits farming on the island as the freshwater sources from wells and in the soil are depleted from evaporation. Drought affects both fishermen and farmers, and as a result causes a rise in the prices for goods, which the elderly and the poor usually cannot afford. Their economy and their people will suffer. Guam already imports over 90% of their food, and having to completely rely on imported goods will choke their economy. There are already measures in place to track and combat regional issues linked to climate change. In Guam, they have formed the Guam Climate Change Resiliency Commission. In Hawaii, the Secretariat of the Pacific Regional Environment Program has been added to the Green Climate Fund, and Hawaii signed the Maduro Declaration to join together with other Pacific islands in studying climate change. These are recent commissions, only being around 3 years old, but the Pacific Islands are vulnerable to climate change and are working collectively to do what they can to reduce their emissions and prepare for the future.